Hey there, thanks for joining me. My name is Jami and I am a triple negative breast cancer survivor. Now, in order for me to say that there was no evidence of disease, I had to endure 16 rounds of chemotherapy and several surgeries. Now, my goal on sharing things about chemo is really twofold. Number one is to make people smile and encourage you to look for the good even in the worst situations. And number two, to help people outside of the cancer patient, their friends and their family, know good practical gifts to get them, because I received way too many blankets and fuzzy socks. Now, I loved those blankets and fuzzy socks, but the gifts that really made an impact for me were the good practical gifts. Now, I made an Amazon wish list in order to share those needs with my community. And if you are newly diagnosed or even in the trenches of treatment, I encourage you to do the same. People want to help you and they just don't know what to do. That's why you might hear phrases like, "Let me know if you need anything." By the way, if you're that friend or family member, don't ever say that. It's so hard in the throes of treatment to know what you need in the moment that you're being asked. So let's jump right in. Today, I'm going to be sharing my chemo bag, the bag that I took with me to infusions every single time. Now, if you are a friend or family member, pay attention to what's in this bag because these could be fabulous gifts to someone that is newly diagnosed. And this is what I looked like every single time that I walked into chemo. I had my tumbler in my hand, my chemo bag, along with that neck pillow attached on the side. But let's dive right in and see what's in the bag and why these items were important. Let's start out with the three most visible items. One is the tumbler in my hand. Now, I received lots of tumblers as gifts when I got my diagnosis. This was my absolute favorite. Now, let me tell you why. The first thing that was super, super important is the glass interior. Now, most tumblers are either plastic or metal on the inside. I am reducing as many plastics as I can from my life. If you don't know why, do a deep dive on microplastics and it'll make a lot of sense. So the metal was important to stay away from because one of the chemos that I took caused a metallic taste in my mouth. It was made even worse with metal silverware or metal drinking cups. The water literally would taste like metal to me. So that glass is super important. Now, there's a lot of glass tumblers out on the market. This is the only one that I found that was insulated. It is made by Vin Glacé. You can see that right there. I have all of these items shared on an Amazon storefront. So if you want to look for this particular cup, it's right there on my Amazon storefront. Comes with the lid, comes with the glass straw as well. Loved this tumbler. Now, the next thing that you see is a neck pillow attached to my bag. This is my tried and true favorite neck pillow. I've had it for ages. I tried to find a similar one to put on my Amazon storefront. I loved this one way better than those regular foam ones. I liked it because I could twist it and work it into so many different shapes. Typically, while I was in infusion in that big chair, this is what it looked like to stop my head from falling side to side because yes, I did sleep through a lot of my infusion. So absolutely love this neck pillow. Moving on, let's talk about the bag. A chemo bag is a necessity. Now, I'm sure everyone has a bag around the house. This one was custom made for me and a bit snarky. So you have to know your friend or family member, what is their personality and what is going to be good for them. Maybe it's a beautiful soft floral bag. Maybe it's just a basic bag, and I have a basic bag pinned in my Amazon storefront. I loved this one. Cancer grabbed my boob, so I'm kicking its ass. That was the sentiment that I had, so I absolutely loved this bag. Now, next, let's dig into this bag and see what's inside. Okay, I've got my bag here. Let's dig inside and see what I needed most for chemo infusion days. The first thing is just things to do with my hands. Guess it helps if I put it the right side. I loved color books. I received quite a few of them. Actually, that's one of the things, kind of like blankets and fuzzy socks. I got tons of color books, but I didn't mind it because all of them were just a little bit different. If you are going to gift a adult color book, make sure that you pair it along with some colored pencils and a sharpener. Pencils are no good if you don't have a sharpener. Now, I got to where I was kind of picky about my colored pencils. My favorite are on that Amazon storefront, so check it out. Again, know your friend or family member. There's some spicy color books out there with some colorful language. I just liked these basic ones that I could just sit and color with. Now, along with keeping myself busy, different things like this, activity books. You can find these even at the Dollar Tree for super duper cheap. I used these a lot. As you can see, I still have my highlighter in there, and I did a lot of word finds while I was sitting in the infusion chair. Now, a little bit of a side note on some of the items in my infusion bag. I did not ice my hands. A lot of chemo patients will spend some of the time during infusion with ice pack gloves on their hands. That reduces the probability that they will get neuropathy in their hands. I knew nothing about this before I started treatment, and I'm really sad that I didn't know because I do have neuropathy really bad in one of my hands. So just make sure that you ask your friend or family member if they are going to be using, I think they're called Susie pads, on their hands. But even if they are, they're not going to wear those the entire time they're in the infusion chair. So they still might want some of these things to keep their hands busy. Let's continue on in the bag. Reading material. Now, I just grabbed one of my fun Frida McFadden books. I love to read me some Frida McFadden. It just takes me away from the situation at hand. Usually I would choose a fiction book to take with me to treatment, but I also have quite a few really good reading materials on cancer and specifically breast cancer. Like everything else, they're linked in my Amazon storefront. This is one that I absolutely loved, Radical Remission, and it's by Dr. Kelly Turner. I loved this book, but this was a little too heavy of a read for chemo. I read this outside of treatment days. Here's another thing that I absolutely loved that I actually didn't think about until later in my treatment was games. My husband went with me on every single infusion trip, and we didn't think to bring games until like halfway through. We brought Yahtzee, and it's a little loud because of the dice. I loved this little to-go container because I could pop it right in my bag. Another game that we love to play is Quicks, but another dice game. And those dice games can get a little loud on the table, especially if your infusion neighbor is trying to take a nap. So of course you can always go with a deck of cards and use that to keep you busy. Let's see. Oh, this thing is absolutely amazing. Looks crazy, right? You open it up right like this, and it is a personal fan. It has 3 different settings. Sucker can put off some air, let me tell you. Now, I would fluctuate between being super duper hot and super duper cold during treatment. So I would use the warm blankets from the infusion center. I never took a blanket with me. It was just big and bulky. I loved those warmed blankets that I could get at the infusion center. So when I was cold, those were fabulous. But when I would have a hot flash, this sucker was great. But it's not just a fan. It's also a flashlight. But I mean, I don't think you really need that during infusion. I don't know why you would need that feature, but it's also a portable charger, which is a must-have, especially if you have an older phone that the charge dies really fast on. I scrolled endlessly during treatments. I also listened to music on my phone. Some people will download movies onto their phone and watch them during treatment. So a portable charger is a great idea as a gift for someone starting chemo. I loved this guy right here. An eye mask. Those infusion centers are so bright. And like I said earlier, I napped quite a bit during my infusion, especially when I was on Carbo and Taxol, because one of my pre-meds was a high dose Benadryl, and that knocked me flat out. It was nap time for sure. I love this eye mask. It's a little bit different than just a basic satin thing that sits on your face. You can see here that it's raised with all my makeup on it, raised around the eye sockets. So it's much more comfortable to wear. And this is like a memory foam, super soft on my face. I loved this eye mask. And I actually have a few now because I keep one in my travel bag as well. It's the best eye mask out there, hands down. Now let's dig into my little goodie bag inside my big infusion bag. Like I told you, I love anything snarky. You can find silly, fun stuff like this all over Amazon and Etsy, but I thought this was funny. One of my friends gifted me this bag. A little zippy bag inside a chemo bag is a must-have because there's tons of stuff in this little bag right here. Let's dive in. Of course, just a pen and a highlighter for those activity books that I had. Snacks. Let's talk about snacks. A lot of infusion centers have snacks, but to me, they were all processed junk. And I worked really hard to eat healthy during treatment, to do everything that I could to take care of my body because of those nasty meds that I was taking. Applesauce, anything in these little pouches. You can find high protein snacks, stuff like that in these pouches. Applesauce was a must have, and organic applesauce was my applesauce of choice. Also, I would keep like these little nut and fruit mixes, anything that I could just, munch a couple bites here and there. Also, there's none in this bag because I've eaten them all. I loved Annie's brand, like graham crackers, animal crackers, any of that. That was organic. So snacks are a must-have in your chemo bag. The next thing I had were my earbuds. Like I said, music, movies, those things often happen from a phone, but you don't want to bother your infusion neighbors. So earbuds are a must-have, and make sure they're fully charged. The next thing that I have in here, and I have a lot of different options, is hard candies, or sometimes I would use gum. The reason for this is, guys, a lot of people don't know this, but when they access your port, if you don't know what a port is, they're gonna put something right up here on your chest or your friend's chest. It is a medical device that goes under the skin that makes it easy to access to do the chemo treatments. Now, when they access that port, you can actually taste in your mouth what they're putting in your chest port. It's the weirdest thing. So I would always pop in a hard candy. I kept a lot of different options with me, or would pop in a piece of gum before they accessed my port. It would just help disguise that awful, awful taste. So hard candies are a must-have in a chemo bag. Along the same line is something for your nose. Now, this is a nausea inhaler. These are my absolute favorite. These are Essence nose diffusers, wearable diffuser. Let me show you what this is. It is a tiny little plastic piece. Looks just like this. It's super soft and pliable. You can see that there, but you pop it right in your nose, just like you have a septum piercing, but there are essential oils on it. Now you can barely see it once it's in my nose, so it's not super noticeable. This is great to disguise the scent of rubbing alcohol. Now, when I first started getting my infusions, I did not disguise scent at all. And here's the thing, I have a terrible reaction anytime I smell rubbing alcohol now. It takes me right back to those times that they used it so much during infusion. They rub your skin with rubbing alcohol before they access your port. They use it constantly during treatment to clean the tubing and stuff like that before they insert a new medicine. I absolutely hate the smell of rubbing alcohol now. I didn't find these until later in my treatment journey, but I wish I would have had them from the very start. A nausea inhaler does the same thing. This is like a tea tree, eucalyptus. You just put it on the edge of your nose and take a big smell. But those Essence nose inhalers are so much better because you can pop it in and just leave it until all of that is done and then take it right out. Loved having anything to disguise scent during my treatment. What else do I have in here? Reading glasses, because age. chapstick. This was so important to have chapstick. This is my favorite brand. It's by Dr. Bronner's, you know, that soap company. I loved this because, as you'll see, the scent is naked. It doesn't have a scent, flavor, whatever you want to call it, because sometimes those are really off-putting and triggering and can cause nausea, but also this is organic. Love the Dr. Bronner's naked chapstick. And the last thing that I had in here was my own Band-Aids. When they take out your port, they usually put a Band-Aid on top of it. I'm allergic to medical adhesive, but I have found that this brand, it's For Earth by You. It's a bamboo Band-Aid, but I found that it did not bother me like the regular Band-Aids do with the medical adhesive. So that is everything in my chemo bag. I'm sure it's a very personal journey and other people's might have looked different. I hope this is helpful. Please think about when you're getting a gift for your loved one that just announced they have cancer. Look at some of these practical items and think about helping them put together their chemo infusion bag. Thanks for joining me, guys.